Hey friends, welcome to episode 176 of the Fierce Calling podcast. I'm your host, Doris Swift. I am so thankful that you are joining us today. We have a great show. Susan Neal is my guest, and she's going to share how she lost her health when she was 50 years old, and she began a journey to regain and reclaim her health. And she's going to share all the things that she learned from that experience. And we're going to really glean from what she has to share. And she wants us to be stronger. She wants us to feel younger, live healthier, and age gracefully. And who doesn't need that message today? So friend, I know what she has to share is going to encourage, inspire, and challenge you. So listen in while I have a chat with Susan Neal. And just a reminder that if you enjoy Fierce Calling, I would love if you would rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, because that will help more people find the show. And please share it with a friend. And yes, stay tuned for this exciting episode with Susan Neal. What is threatening to steal your joy? What is it that feels so heavy right now that you could barely stand because of the weight of it? Think about it, because God has a plan, and His plan is to surrender it. Surrender it to Him. It might be a prodigal. It might be a relationship, a marriage, something with your job. So many things. We have so many amazing blessings, but there are so many things in our life that threaten to steal our joy. I'm Doris Swift, author of the award-winning 6-week Bible study, Surrender the Joy Stealers, Rediscover the Jesus Joy in You. And it helps women rediscover the overflowing, ever-present Jesus joy within that fills, empowers, and ripens the fruit that God produces in our lives. Using personal and biblical stories, I share how you can identify your joy stealers, surrender them to God, reawaken the joy within, and share the joy with others. You can do it on your own or with a group. If you're looking for a Bible study for this summer, check it out, friends. Surrender the Joy Stealers. Rediscover the Jesus Joy in You. It's available on all the online retailers. It's time to take your joy back. Welcome back to the show. I am so excited to welcome my friend today, Susan Neal. She's an RN and has a master's in health science. It's awesome. She lives her life with a passion to help others improve their health. And she is walking the walk and living it. After suffering a health crisis, she became an author and health coach to provide others with the tools they need to heal their bodies and reclaim their ideal weight. She's had several books that are doing amazing. Her number one Amazon bestseller is 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates. And she also has another book called Healthy Living Journal. And her newest release is 12 Ways to Age Gracefully, How to Look and Feel Younger. We need to hear all about this, Susan. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Doris. And congratulations to you on your book winning an award.
Oh, thank you so much. You're such a blessing and such a great mentor and encourager for authors. So I appreciate all that you do. You are president of CAN, right? And among other things on your plate right now. And your books have won an amazing awards too. So that helps get the word out. And we can be humble about these things, differently from the world. We can be humble about the awards that we win, because it's glorifying to God and it's to help others and encourage others. So thank you for all that you do with that. And I would love if you would share a little bit about your story, maybe even talk some about the health crisis that you experienced and how you're currently taking action where your passion, compassion, and conviction intersect.
Hey, so about 13 years ago, I suffered a health crisis. I had an abscess tooth, and it poisoned my body over the course of like 9 months. I had 10 medical diagnoses and 2 surgeries. I had started with depression and then double periods and a hole in my retina. I had to have emergency laser surgery for that. I was anemic, a hormonal imbalance. I mean, it just went
Wow.
on and on and on until they found out that it was abscessed. And then I had to have a root canal. And then I got a candida overgrowth from the antibiotics and the steroids, and I was a train wreck.
Golly.
And so it took me, 8 months, a year. It took a while to recover. And after I did, I just, was writing, and it's like, I I'm nerdy about looking at research studies and figuring out what this, stuff means in layman's
Mhm.
language. And so I started writing healthy living books, and it works so well with my master's in health
Mhm.
science, my nursing background, and my compassion for people who lose their health.
Mhm. That is amazing how you have gone through such a difficult season of life with your health and how God turned it around, like the Romans 8:28, that he works it all together for good, and now not only for the good of you and his glory but also for the good of others, because we're all certainly benefiting by what you have learned, which that's amazing. So, and it is so mind-blowing that all of these things could stem from an abscess tooth. I mean,
I
it is a
know.
serious thing when that infection travels through your body, and sometimes, like you didn't know what was going on, and it took a while to diagnose it, and that can be so frustrating to people when they know
Mhm.
they're not feeling well. And oftentimes doctors might want to just prescribe something to treat a symptom, but not really get to the root of it. So did you have to kind of push for to be your own health advocate in all of that?
Absolutely. And each of us really needs to do that. I had an internal medicine physician. I had another one that specialized in like the candida and other things because the internal medicine did not know how to deal with that. I had an ophthalmologist for the eye surgery. I had a OBGYN for, I mean, I had a lot of them. And then, they did all they could,
Mhm.
but, I had to, like, read and educate myself about, okay, the things I was suffering from, and, how do I recover from that? And when things just we weren't figuring it out, I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna try a chiropractor, I'm gonna try acupuncture, I'm gonna try
Mhm.
massage." I'm going to try I even went to a colonic
Wow.
therapist, which was like where you have a royal enema.
Mm.
And that's the person that found the candida overgrowth
Mm.
because I knew something was wrong and I didn't know what it was, and all those doctors couldn't figure it out.
What was the name of that specialist that you went to?
So I went and had a colonic irrigation.
Okay.
So it's like a royal
Mm-hmm.
enema.
It kind of clears everything out. It's supposed to
Yeah,
clear it out.
and she's like, you have candida, which is an overgrowth of
Wow.
yeast. And many of us have
Mm-hmm.
that and we don't realize it. And candida loves sugar, refined carbohydrates, and alcoholic beverages.
Mm.
So if any of your listeners crave those types of
Mm-hmm.
products, then go to my quiz to find out if they may have an overgrowth. It's candyquiz.com,
Mm.
but it is quiz.com.
Nice.com. Okay. Yeah, because we can experience all kinds of digestive issues and just chalk it up to, oh, that didn't agree with me. Whatever I ate didn't agree with me, or that I didn't get enough rest, or different things like that. So when we experience like the
Right? And
bloating and all of that.
right, like I did not know that I was gluten sensitive.
Mm.
And 10% of the population is gluten sensitive. or has there's 4 gluten related
Mhm.
disorders. And so it was a real challenge going to a gastroenterologist, going to my and they're not able to, a lot of doctors will say it's IBS, irritable bowel
Mhm.
syndrome. But if you remove gluten from your diet for a month, you'll see if those IBS symptoms go away. And if they do, then
Bingo.
it's gluten sensitivity. So I wrote another book called Solving the Gluten Puzzle
Mm.
because it's hard to figure out that. And you have to be your own healthcare
Mhm.
advocate. And I wrote another quiz called Gluten Intolerance Quiz.com because I struggled with getting a diagnosis. And it used to be it would take years and years to get a
Mhm.
diagnosis. So glutenintolerancequiz.com might help some of your listeners find out if they might suffer from, you know, intolerance to gluten.
Yeah, very well be what they're experiencing. And I'll make sure to put those quiz links in the show notes so they can check that out for sure. And so when you were talking about avoiding the sugar and the carbohydrates, because I don't really remember any of my doctors ever saying, don't do that, not to have too much sugar or don't have carbohydrates. But like you said, oftentimes they want to say, well, here's a prescription for Acifex or, whatever prescription, they think will help fix whatever's going on. But how how did that kind of come about when you wrote that book about the sugar and
Uh,
carbohydrates?
Okay, the 7 steps to get off sugar and carbohydrates. So, I had a sister who had rosacea on her
Mm-hmm.
face, and she knew that she was gluten sensitive. And so I took her through 7 steps to get off the sugar and the
Mm-hmm.
carbohydrates. And she was very successful. The rosacea went away. She didn't have to be on any creams or medicines for it. And because they give you like a little micro dose of an antibiotic, but that's not good for your microbiome, your gastrointestinal tract to take that
Mm-hmm.
ongoing. And she lost 20 pounds and she did really well. So I was like, I people could, benefit from
Mm-hmm.
this, so I'll go ahead and write a book about it.
Nice. Yeah, you're like, I'm on to something here. Yeah, God was really leading you to share that message because that it's so important. And you hear a lot of other things too about sugar, especially, linked to cancer because cancer loves to feed on sugar and things like that. So
Yes.
that is true, right, Susan?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
Mhm.
when you wrote that book and then it became a bestseller, because obviously the message resonated with so many people. And I'm sure you've gotten so much feedback from the people who have successfully followed your steps and they are so
Yes.
appreciative because you like earn loyalty and like best friends for life when people say, hey, this person helped me so much and I so appreciate it. And I'm sure you get a lot of great feedback from that. And I'll certainly have a link in the show notes to your books and how people can grab those.
One person that I was the most surprised about is he wrote me and he said, "I've had diabetes for 7 years. I followed your 7 steps and my diabetes was resolved."
Wow. That,
That was like an absolute
yes.
miracle because, maybe if you have type, and of course he had type 2
Mm-hmm.
diabetes, not type 1, but, maybe if you had diabetes type 2 for a year or
Mm-hmm.
2, yeah, maybe it can go ahead and be resolved and stuff, but 7 years?
Wow.
I was thrilled for
That
him.
is what a blessing, too. I mean, when you bless others and then you just get the blessing back when you know that it's really something that impacts somebody's life like that. That is a powerful thing. And it's so nice that he shared that with you because, there's many others out there that have had similar health experiences, that have improved greatly that may not have had taken the time to tell you. So you can know that there's many more out there that just haven't said anything about it. So thanks for sharing that. That is really so encouraging to someone listening today, that things that we have doesn't have to be our story, right? That there are ways to reverse some of the things that we've kind of done to ourselves or just didn't have the right tools or the right information. And we just thought, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. It's not going to really work that way. So how have you found where you can help people when they feel like they're continually overeating the wrong things?
Well, I do provide coaching at my website, susanuneal.com. That's Neal, and it's susanuneal.com. And I also have a course on 7 steps to reclaim your health and optimal weight.
Mm.
So I have those resources for people, but I really believe in getting to the root
Mm-hmm.
cause of a
Mm-hmm.
problem to determine, how to resolve this. So for me, like with one aspect of my life, it was gluten sensitivity. So I had to remove that from my
Mm-hmm.
diet. And the other time, which I told you about, I had the candida overgrowth. I had a very difficult time. Nobody could diagnose
Mm-hmm.
that. I tried alternative measures. We got it diagnosed. But once you remove the gluten. Once you kill the candida and you understand how to kill
Mm-hmm.
it, then you're no longer having the IBS symptoms. You're no longer suffering from the symptoms that you might have from the candida to where you're craving stuff so
Mm-hmm.
much. And I really believe in balancing the microbiome. In fact, my second chapter of my newest book, 12 Ways to Age Gracefully, specifically addresses your gastrointestinal tract or your microbiome. What is it? How does it affect the rest of your body? Because it affects your mood, it affects your health, your immune system. How do we heal it when we've damaged it from the standard American diet
Mm-hmm.
foods? So when we get to the root cause, we figure it out, and then we also heal from any damage that we've done. Then you're at a baseline where you can have self control.
And those cravings kind of naturally go away, right? When you start with the healthier
Mm-hmm.
habits, which is very encouraging to someone listening today, a lot of people listening today, because
Yes.
we do fall into cycles and sometimes it's emotional. But it is important to listen to our bodies, isn't it? And try to really see what's going on and be in tune and intentional about what we put in our bodies and then what effects it might have after we do that. So I love that. And I love that you coach people too, because sometimes, and as we know, we can't do anything on our own, right? Because Jesus said, apart from me, you can do nothing. So he leads us to godly mentors and coaches to help be an accountability person and someone that can really walk people through and keep them on track. Because do you find people get frustrated where they kind of fall off and stop doing the steps?
Yes, and I tell them in the book, 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carb, don't give up. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
all going to sin again. We're all going to, fail one day. Well, every morning is a new morning with this new sunrise, and God gives us a new day, and we can start afresh and start new. And don't give up and just focus on today and don't worry about yesterday. It's okay.
Amen.
We all
Yeah,
stumble.
that is great encouragement. How you're bringing out there are new mercies every morning, and we can give ourselves a little grace if we stumble or have a
Right.
bad day. It doesn't mean we have a bad life. I think I saw that. That's a meme or something I saw. just you're having a bad day doesn't mean you have a bad life. But yeah, so that's incredible and encouraging. And I love that you have a course that people can go through. How long does it take usually? It's kind of, I guess, go at your own pace kind of thing.
6 weeks.
Okay.
So it's you could do 6 weeks or you could do 6 days.
No.
If you want to if you want to spend like an hour or so each
Hmm.
day, then you can.
Hmm.
So it's like six lessons, 6 to 7 weeks.
Great.
Hmm.
I know in the foods that we eat, there's so many foods that are processed. And so, do you have anything you want to share about that, like nitrates and things like that, that have effect on our bodies?
And so I really believe in making it simple when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
eating. I don't count calories or carbs or any of this stuff. I say simply look at your plate. Did the food come off of a ranch or out of a garden? If it did, eat it. If it has been shredded up and put into a shape and you don't know what the original source of food was, don't eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't eat out of boxes and bags. I don't eat cereals, crackers,
Mm-hmm.
um, things like that. I just don't. Spaghetti. I eat spaghetti squash
Mm-hmm.
and it absorbs the delicious flavor of whatever you put on it, whether it's shrimp scampi or spaghetti sauce on top of the spaghetti
Mm-hmm.
squash. So uh eat God's foods and also understand that the food manufacturers want you to keep buying their
Mm-hmm.
products. They want their products to be able to sit on the grocery store shelf for months without going bad. Well, foods that sit in your pantry on the grocery store shelf for months are dead food. They 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 enrich bread.
Mm-hmm.
They put vitamins in it because they have the food manufacturers pulled out of the wheat that they pulled a couple like the bran and the wheat germ out so that it doesn't go bad.
Mm-hmm.
So only 3 parts of the 5 parts of a wheat kernel is in white flour. So, don't let them fool you
Mm-hmm.
and avoid those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
foods.
So, is that when we see where it says enriched flour? Is that what that means, Susan?
Yes, they had to add vitamins because
Mm.
back when they did this in like the 1930s,
Mm-hmm.
1940s, because before that, everybody, they go and they get their flour and it was fresh and stone ground. And then they got this big rolling mill and it pulled out part of the wheat from it. So, the part that goes bad, they throw away, and the part that doesn't go bad that still makes it white flour they keep.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot of people started getting sick
Mm-hmm.
in the United
Mm-hmm.
States. And so the United States government made them enrich white flour with man-made vitamins versus God-made vitamins.
Hmm. That is fascinating information. Not a lot of us know. And it is so important to be informed. And I love how you referred to the food as there's like the dead food and then there's the living food, the healthy food.
Yes.
And
Yeah, all in we're all in the produce area. Food is alive. God gave us 100 vegetables and 50 fruit.
and that's one of your books, right? Eat God's food.
Yes, yes, it's for children.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to start impacting the younger generation too,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so smart. And so this is a picture book called Eat God's Food, A Kid's Guide to Healthy
Mm-hmm.
Eating. It's for like 4 to 8 year olds. And it teaches them all about the different types of God's
Mm-hmm.
foods. And then at the end, it talks about junk food. And it tells them how the food manufacturers doesn't have our health in mind, and also that this junk food, it doesn't have the vitamins and the nutrients. And guess what? About a week or two after you quit eating this junk food, all of God's foods start tasting delicious again because our taste buds change back to normal.
Mm. Wow, that is an important message for our kids to learn, but also for us to learn too. So it's great for the parents and grandparents to pick up that book as well and also glean from it as they're teaching kids the right way to eat and the healthy way to eat. And yeah, because the junk food, kids are having all kinds of health issues, and it probably stems a lot from maybe some of the diet. It's not really a balanced diet. But what do you think, like, of the food pyramid thing? Is that kind of is there, what is that all about?
I believe in God's food pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 100 vegetables, 50
Mm-hmm.
fruits. He gave us, I believe in eating the ancient grains. There's different grains, that he gave us that are
Mm-hmm.
wonderful, and nuts and seeds and meats. And so I believe in God's foods group.
Yeah, I love that so much. Let's talk a little bit too about water intake, because sometimes it's hard for people to get into that habit of drinking enough water. So, what can you share about that, Susan?
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
you want to drink half your weight in ounces in water. So if you weigh 160 pounds, then you should drink 80 ounces of water, which is 10 glasses of water a
Mm-hmm.
day.
Which isn't bad when you break it down.
And I find that a lot of people, they keep eating and they're hungry 2 hours after they've eaten a meal and they keep eating, whereas they're really thirsty.
Mm.
Their body is craving water. So, what I say to do in my book, 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates, is before you
Mm-hmm.
eat again, if it's been less than 3 hours, it takes 3 hours for your food to digest,
Mm.
unless it's
Mm-hmm.
fruit. If it's just fruit, it's less
Mm-hmm.
time, but 3 hours. So if it's 2 hours and you're hungry again, you're probably wanting water. So drink 2 glasses of water. And that usually curbs your appetite for another hour.
Mm. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, simple. The good, clean water that we need, like our living water that we need, that Jesus gives us. So, when we talk about our eating habits, like how we eat, is there certain times throughout the day that we should? I know sometimes we hear you should eat 6 small meals, or you should eat, like what do you think might be a healthy balance?
I believe in listening to your
Mm-hmm.
body. So, for example, for me, I start out with a cup of tea and 2 glasses of water in the
Mm-hmm.
morning. And then I usually don't get hungry till 9:30 or 10 in the
Mm-hmm.
morning. So I do what's called intermittent fasting. Like I finish eating like at 6 p.m. at night. So then at 10 a.m. in the morning, that's six, is that? Yep, 16 hours. So I have 16 hours where I have
Mm-hmm.
fasted, not because I necessarily was trying to
Mm-hmm.
fast. It's just because I wasn't hungry and I was hydrating my body. But in those 16 hours, your body gets old cells and it takes away and eats those bad old cells and it rejuvenates and it makes your new cells so your vision improves. So if there's any kind of cells that may have been like starting to be cancerous, it eats those bad guys up. And if we're eating all the time, we are not allowing our body to have this time that God made it to, do what I just explained. So, and if you are really, really hungry in the morning, then I recommend drinking 2 glasses of
Mm-hmm.
water before you eat breakfast, just to make sure it is not that your
Mm-hmm.
thirst. And then again, after you eat breakfast, wait 3 hours before you eat another meal. And before you eat your next meal, which would be lunch, drink 2 glasses of water.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are going to do, the same thing for, let's say, an afternoon snack, 2 glasses of water before an afternoon snack and 2 glasses of water at like 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't drink after 5 p.m. because we love our sleep and we don't want to have to get up in the middle of the night.
That is good advice right there, because the rest is so important. And I love how you were explaining all of that replenishment that is going on in our bodies. And I don't know how anybody could ever deny there's a God. Like, what in the world? How could this all be happening without a divine creator to create all of this going on? Because we have even no clue what's going on inside of us as things are going. But I love how you pointed out how resting, not only rest, but resting from eating is so crucial. And I was going to ask you about the intermittent fasting. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And then we hear sometimes about the intuitive eating. I know you kind of sounded like that. You listen to your body and not eat when you're not hungry.
Everybody's different. And if you don't feel like a heavy meal, eat a salad. Or you know what? Like you could just eat an apple for breakfast. What did Adam and Eve do? You can have something so simple as a piece of fruit for breakfast or an afternoon snack. And that fiber is so good for us to stay regular.
For our digestion and all of that. So when we change our eating habits to eat healthier, it probably doesn't take too long for us to start feeling the benefits, right, Susan?
Right. So in 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates, I recommend that people start like changing their eating habits on a Wednesday and just stop. If you choose to do this cold turkey, stop with the sugar, stop with the carbs on a Wednesday. And on Saturday and Sunday, you might not feel the best. You're going to be lethargic. So I say, read, rest, pray, and have a laid back weekend. And by Tuesday or Wednesday, you have profound energy. You're like, you feel a decade younger. You start coming out of a fog.
Who does not want to feel a decade younger? Okay. Except if you're 10. I mean, that's, other than that, but that is awesome. And so, and thanks also for bringing up the point that once we change our habits, our body has to adjust. So it might go through a little adjustment period and then transitions into something wonderful because we need energy.
Yes.
How many times do we feel like we're so tired? And it could be because of the things that we're putting in our body. But I also love how you brought out the fact that when we think we're hungry or when we're craving something, it may very well be water.
Yeah.
And we might not realize that. We always think, well, it's because we're thirsty, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're thirsty. It means we're craving something. And if we follow your plan, we'll be taking in enough water. So that's the best thing. So I love that so much. Is there anything you want to share about your newest book coming out that maybe we haven't talked about? Because, the title in and of itself, really, we've got to grab this book. But you shared a little bit about what was in it, but how is this book a little different than the previous books that you wrote?
So here's the book cover, 12 Ways to Age Gracefully. And I used more of a holistic approach. Sure, I started out with diet and microbiome, and I move on to exercise. But what about our emotional status? What about our spiritual status? Are we isolated? Do we have community? Do we have a divine purpose? Because everyone does. Have you found yours yet? So it has a broader approach, and it also gets into like toxins because that's a really big topic. And I go into how God gave us a natural detoxification method. I go into hormones. I go into brain health because Alzheimer's and dementia is so prevalent in our society today. I'm very aware of that. I go into genes and how your genes can affect that. So it's scientific, it's holistic, but it is broken down into layman's language, you know, to where you can easily understand it.
That's great, because if we find it too hard, we're just going to say, I don't get this, whoosh over my head. But it sounds like you've laid it out in very simple, easy to follow processes and terms that we can all say, hey, we can share this book with others, maybe do it as a group together with, other women, that we can encourage each other as we go through it. So I think that's fantastic. The 12 Ways to Age Gracefully, How to Look and Feel Younger. That is awesome. When does that come out, Susan?
It comes out May 28th, 2024.
Nice. So very soon, very soon.
Yes.
We are looking out for that. And will it be available for pre-order or just?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. And it's available on most online bookstores.
Mm-hmm. Great. Wow, I'm excited about it. So, and thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been amazing. And I know that we've heard so many golden nuggets of amazing information that we can absorb and even go back and re-listen to the whole show again just to glean from that. But also check out your website and all the things that you have on there and those quizzes that we can take, because we may be experiencing something that can be reversed. We're maybe not feeling great, and we don't have to just say, this is
right.
it.
You're right, because God made our bodies to heal. That is the way he made us, just like a cut or a sprained ankle. Mm-hmm. So if any of your listeners have a condition, a chronic condition, you may be able to heal from it, and gaining knowledge about how to potentially heal is powerful. Powerful. It gives us hope. And when I was sick, this was my verse. It was Isaiah 40:31. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. And when on my 50th birthday, when I was so sick, a friend of mine gave me this, and I clung to this verse during my illness and hoped that one day I would be well. And I am.
Wow. And not only well, but helping others be well too. So that's fantastic. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Susan. It's been amazing, and I'll put the links in the show notes so the listener can connect with you. And if you're listening today and you are struggling with some health issues, just check out Susan's site, check out her books, and consider possible coaching with her, because you, friend, can live the way God created you to live. And like Susan said, you have a purpose and God has plans for you. And to walk in our fierce calling, we need to be healthy disciples. So, Susan, thank you for helping us to be that. Can't wait to get this book in my hands. God bless you.
Thank you so much for having me, Doris.
Thank you. And we will talk soon. Thank you for listening today. Wow, so good. I am just really inspired to begin again to eat well, because I have tried that before and it is hard. We get busy, we take shortcuts, we stop for fast food, but Susan is here to help us, and she has these amazing books that we can read, and she's available for coaching. So yeah, check out her website. I have the links in the show notes, as I said. And also I want to remind you, if you are looking for a speaker for your next women's event, and now you may not be the event planner at your church, so if you could share this information with whoever is the lady that gathers ladies at your church. I can do retreats, conferences. I do workshops. Lots of other information can be found at dorisswift.com on my speaker page, or you can go to womenspeakers.com and check out the messages that I can share. And I can also change up any of the messages to fit what your event is all about, because I really want an opportunity to share and to bless you and your ladies. I'm currently booking. I have some availability in the fall and then into 2025. So check that out. Reach out to me on my contact page or at my profile at womenspeakers.com, and let's have a chat about that. And I hope you'll join me next time when I talk with another woman who's taking action where her passion, compassion, and conviction intersect. Until then, friend, have a blessed week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode that is part of the Spark Media Network that can now be heard on the Edify app.